Hello and welcome back to Hope Follows. I'm Julie Kenzler, your host of the CWWN HSBN Hope Follows show. I'm very glad to have you here with me today as we bring on a very special friend who is going to share some hard things, but the hope that follows the hard things that he experienced and witnessed and saw are going to be the beautiful part of his story. So I have Adrian with us today. Adrian is a friend of my kiddos, and we go to church together.
Yep.
And it's a pleasure to have you here, Adrian.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
And he has the coolest title ever. Okay, Ryan has a cool title too.
What is Ryan's title?
I don't know. I don't remember, but it's really long.
It's like legit. Okay.
Yeah, it's legit. It's really long. It has something to do with marketing. And
okay. Yeah. Usually those marketing titles are they're pretty good. Yeah.
Exactly. But yours is content creator.
Yes.
So tell us what a content creator is.
Content creator, I feel like it's very broad, especially today. Mm-hmm. You got TikTok, you got Snapchat, you got Instagram, you got all these different places to create content. YouTube, the big one, right?
Okay.
I feel like for me, so I work at Desert Springs Church. I do Instagram mostly, and I do Facebook a little bit, but mainly I would create videos, and I'm a photographer, so all my stuff would be on screens or implemented during the service times or stuff like that. Very rarely will I actually make stuff to go on YouTube. We've been toying with that a little bit, but it's not been solidified. I want to personally get into that kind of stuff, but I do my own Instagram, and I'm a photographer, so I feel like content creating as time progresses is going to be super broad. So I don't really have a pinpoint to what it means. You can take it for however you want it, but I feel like content creator is just creating content. That's simplified if you want to simplify it, but in different platforms, the world of videos and photos is growing, and it's just going to keep growing. So that's kind of how I would identify content creating. I'm sure it will change in the next few years as platforms grow and different type of thing. Even gaming, right? Yeah, gaming is a big one. So,
Sure, that's true.
Naming what I do photos, videos, and for Desert Springs specifically, I just create videos and produce content on social media and just kind of get our brand out there.
Right, get your brand out there. That's what it is. And then also, what about you personally? You said you're a photographer. You do excellent work.
Thank you.
And so what kind of photography are you doing right now?
So right now, I've been doing more events just because it's easier for me to get those gigs than to freelance myself. And, there's weddings, there's, maternity photo shoots, models, all that kind of stuff that, it takes work to go out and advertise yourself. Yeah. But for me, I've kind of been given more event style type things with the Assemblies of God Network and Desert Springs and other concerts and events like that. So that's kind of what I've been more familiar with in the past year and a half. When I started, I thought, I got to go for the models and that kind of thing. But, really, I got into it for a little bit, but it's not really what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
So that was interesting. I always thought I needed a person to take pictures of instead of nature or whatever. But yeah, for right now, I'm doing events and just
so it started out what you typically would imagine a photographer, but now you have expanded to something you probably never even thought.
Never would I thought I'd be working at a church doing photos. I feel like that was the last place I would be a photographer at. I thought it'd be landscape, nature, people. Products, right?
But and who knows, you might be doing those too. But what is cool is how you capture the moments of baptisms, or it could be just service during worship, during the message, but capturing those moments. And then when people see that are looking for a church, or I mean, that's what you would do it for. It creates a more inviting feel.
Exactly, yeah, and that's why I see it. You can take a photo and it's a cool photo and advertise it, but it's not what I'm for there. And I'm there to capture moments, like you said.
Right.
I think I'm adapting to that, seeing things okay, I could try to make some crazy shot, but my job is to if there's a just past on first Wednesday, at Desert Springs we started this new thing on midweek services.
Right.
It's we emphasize worship that night, and very rarely will like our worship team will like just stop and like get on their knees, and that happened one time, and I was like, that's a moment right there, and it's been a while since I've captured that type of a moment, but it was powerful, and I every time I do it, baptism especially, baptism is a big one.
Sure.
Because I get really close in, facial expressions, crying. It's just like that's what I feel like my job title is at Desert Springs, is to capture those moments.
Those
so
moments. Those are special.
exactly, yeah.
Yes. Well, before we go into your story of how that even all came about for you, because we all have a purpose, a passion, and a lot of times they come out of a struggle or they come out of some difficult situation. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but just maybe tell us a little more about you, maybe some favorite childhood memory, so that our wonderful viewers can get to know Adrian.
One childhood memory that like immediately comes into my head is watching sports with my dad and like my family. Mainly my dad. My mom and my brother, they're not really into sports, but something that me and my dad just do is watch sports. And the Arizona Cardinals, stuff like that. Every Friday, we would actually go play football with my dad. So that's probably one like staple that like I could think like that's a childhood memory right there. But just sports. I grew up watching sports, loving sports with my dad, and so yeah, I feel like it's a big one.
That's another area for photography.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
Wow.
I think sports photography would probably be like the dream. Like,
sure,
I'd hit it. I'd make it if I.
Yes.
But
well, just keep practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going
that
at it.
experience.
You never know. Yeah.
So just like I have had tragedy losing my sister, and that led to blogging, losing her to a drunk driver, and it led to blogging, which led to a book and led to this show.
Yeah.
And you also saw some tragedy, very tragic situation, and he went to a high school that was kind of a group of a few high schools. They were rivals, I suppose. But of the 3 high schools, you guys lost 6 students within
A short
time to suicide. And 5 were within a few months.
Yeah.
Can you share about that?
Yeah, it was hard. That was, I never knew those students, but I had friends who would hang out with them. I had friends who knew them.
Right.
And I think when you hear even like today, like not even in high school, I mean, it's sad when it's a student, but when you hear anybody go through like that struggle, celebrities, and they're talking about depression and they're going through anxiety, and they take their own life, I think it's just so much like it hurts, like dang, like like what could have we done? And I feel like not all, like there's times where you may not be able to do anything, and you just be there and just support people. And when I was in high school, when I heard about the first one, it was a big deal. They were all pretty significant, but this one was the first, right? So everybody's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And this person was well known. Everybody knew of him.
Right.
And it wasn't like he advertised that he was going through these struggles or whatever. But when that happened, I knew I had friends who would like just in disbelief, shock. And I feel like for me, like that was like, what can I do to like help? And I never knew these people. I wish maybe I had an opportunity to go out of my way and say something to them, or say like, hey, you're cared for, because I knew who these people were. I never like was close with them or wouldn't necessarily call them a friend, just because I never had the opportunity. But it's just like it makes you think like, what can I have done, or
even to someone I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
To people I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
Who could I be just reaching out to and just encouraging?
Yeah, and I feel like we take life for granted. You never know when somebody's last day or last moments. Yeah. Just recently at Desert Springs, there was a tragedy. Won't go into that, but you never know like your last experience or your last moment with that person. And I think it's in our world today, like encouragement is just so out, like nobody encourages people anymore. And for me, I was a photographer at Combs. People knew me as
at the high school.
Yeah, my high school.
Yeah.
My high school I went to. I was a photographer. Everybody knew who I was, like photo wise, like they knew I did that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I never like I got into photography probably my sophomore year.
And was it through school you got into the photography or
Yes.
through church?
It was through school.
Through
So
school. Okay. So you
um,
started doing some photography.
yeah,
there, right.
that's a whole yeah. So I got into photography. The first suicide happened, and it was I remember that day at school, like
Yeah.
when we heard about it.
Right.
They were like offering students to step out of class if they needed to. The counselors were obviously open and stuff like that.
You
But
don't have to be close friends with someone who has taken their
yeah,
life to feel the emotions.
yes, exactly.
It,
Yeah,
it is a
that's so
life, a
true.
beautiful life,
Yep.
and you weep for what they were hurting
Yeah,
and that they're gone, and you weep for those around them who are their loved
yeah,
ones who have lost
exactly.
them.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing for me was watching friends like go through that, and I know their family was very present on social media about it. It was very sad
Right.
to see like a hurting family and so for me like I wanted to like how can I help and
Yeah.
I didn't want to be intrusive. I didn't want to be invasive and
Right.
kind of like overstep. So I
Yeah.
kind of just stuck to what I was good at in photography. So what I did, I organized a suicide awareness photo shoot with a bunch of students. We went up to a mountain and we kind of made like a statement, like encouragement, because I feel like high school, it's encouragement is overlooked, and they people will do
Absolutely.
anything they can to put you down or to say stuff or maybe not intentionally, but it happens and
Yeah.
students go through that. Even students at my own youth group at
That's right,
the
because you're a
church.
youth leader.
Yeah.
So you're now a leader of
Exactly.
this age group.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it's just um, I think God was kind of speaking to me like, I'm giving you this gift not for your purpose, not for your sake, but for God's sake.
Yeah.
And I may not be able to do much, but I wanted to show that I cared for people, and I know that I didn't want to see another student go through that. So the first one is when I did that suicide awareness
So
photo
you
shoot.
did the photo shoot
Yep.
after the first suicide.
Yes.
And where did you show that photo shoot? How was that used?
So we ended up posting about it. We made a big deal, like we made a drop date. We kind of posted photos everywhere.
Yeah.
In the school announcements, it was kind of shown. It was cool. It was a cool moment to know that students coming together and acknowledging that this was a big deal. Not a lot of people talked about.
Right.
Especially that time.
Yes.
No one talked about it. It was a weird thing to talk about. Emotions and
people think
stuff like
when
that.
you talk about it, people like it's almost like a disease.
Yeah.
You don't want to be talking about it.
No, you're right. Yeah. And
But we should be.
yeah, and I think it's
Yeah.
it's a discussion that needs to be happening every a lot of the time, and especially I feel like teachers need to be more equipped in talking to students and
Yes.
counselors and just faculty and schools aware of that this happens, and I'm sure they're doing stuff now about
Right.
it as
Yes,
more go on.
definitely more
Even
so.
across the valley, like I think Arizona is ranked pretty high up there in suicide.
Yeah.
So
So then after the first one, then another.
yeah, there's another one that was sad too. They were all
Were any
tragic.
of those 5 people related, like
No.
friends at all?
Not that I was not aware of, but
Yeah.
the second one, it was towards the end of the year, so it was like it just happened, and people were like, "Wow, another one!" And then the school year ended, and then later we heard reports of other students from different schools in that area
Yeah.
that people were familiar with. I knew a friend in the school across the road, and she lost a friend through suicide, and she ended up doing something. She did a cool movement. They did like
what's that?
a sunset walk. They did a sunset walk, and we started seeing more movements like that happening, and I got to take photos of that actually.
Yeah.
So like the first one sparked me to do like a photo shoot, but it didn't end there, and I don't think it will ever stop. It's not gonna stop with that photo shoot. I think the main purpose was to get the word out, like, hey, like this is a big deal, and people
Sure.
need to start talking about it. And as more suicides happen, more and more students, you saw the uprising of students gathering and interceding for each other, encouraging one another.
Yeah, unified.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly, and I think when one student falls, like that's just a sign that we need to do better. like I need to do better. Teachers need to do better, and
Mm-hmm.
you never know their circumstances, of course.
No.
But we,
Often we don't.
Yeah.
They don't often leave a note.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the calls and the cries for help are definitely, they just want the attention
Yeah.
and they want love. I mean,
Yeah.
we all do.
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
all have that need.
Yeah.
And we know people help fulfill that, but we know that Jesus does
Exactly.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And I think that was, if I were to go back, I wish I would have implemented more of that way. Jesus is what brings us out of those darkness, and I
Sure.
wish I would have had a plan like after the photo shoot. Okay, we did the photo shoot, but now what? Like let's think of more ways where we can fight this.
You still could.
Yeah, it still could.
You absolutely could.
Being a leader, I'm definitely more aware of that, and I know that it happens.
Yes.
And I know Youth Alive is a different organization outside of our church, but they're doing great things in empowering local clubs
Yes.
and schools,
At
and giving that
schools.
hope. And I think
Absolutely.
that's powerful. And I'm doing work with them, and I think it's great. Like it kind of gives me like I'm still going back into schools, and I'm still fighting that. And I know it's common. I know there's probably many students, just thinking about that, having that thought.
Absolutely.
So I think it's definitely something that needs to be fought daily, and I don't think it will ever go away, but we can always learn new ways to fight it, and I think that's what's important.
Absolutely. Well, what caught my eye on your Instagram was when you had that post about how all those tragedies, those losses of suicide of high school students, your peers, classmates, even if they were in different schools, how that really drove you to do this photography, and you really learned this passion, this purpose that God gave to you, this gift.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever understood what God-given gifts were until like that moment. I entered a fine art show.
Fine arts through the churches.
Yep.
It's a national competition, fine arts competition. That's amazing to see.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about that before you tell us about your experience.
Exactly.
But it's such a great festival
Yep.
that allows students, youth, to showcase their skills in all different ways.
Yeah.
Writing and singing and musical instruments and what else?
Photography, video, short films. They did puppetry.
Oh yes, puppetry. Yes.
It's so awesome. I remember before photography, I always thought it was lame because I didn't know what I was good at. So I was like, why am I going to participate in choir? But but it really, when you dive into like what God gives you and you get abilities, like, you realize it's not you, it's for God, and you're nothing without, because God's giving you that, and that's His. And so yeah, fine arts is a great thing. I'm trying to encourage more students, to do it.
Definitely.
And then we're currently on a series actually in youth about gifts and God-given talents. So that's just funny how we're talking about this, but
fantastic.
Yeah. So
help them discover those gifts.
Exactly.
And stretch. I remember. So all my kids, all of them, and they all have done fine arts, and there were definitely times when they didn't want to do something, and then they ended up having the best time.
Yeah.
And they grew. I mean, Maggie did short story.
Or short sermon?
And, no, she actually wrote a
short story. Okay.
I forget what they called it, flash fiction or something. And she actually wrote a little story.
Oh, that's cool.
And she won 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, you never know.
You don't know. Yeah. And to me, that was I'm so glad we encouraged her to do that, and that the church, the youth group, the leadership encouraged that, because she is an amazing writer.
Yep.
And maybe she wouldn't have discovered that if she didn't try to do something different.
I don't think I would have ever discovered photography if I didn't try, right? Or I didn't make that effort. And I love fine arts because there's a like memo, I don't know what to call it, a slogan.
Yes.
It's develop, deploy, or no, discover, develop, and deploy. Yeah, discover, develop, deploy.
Okay.
so you fine arts helps you find that, right? Helps you find what your talent, helps you that discover piece.
Right.
Develop, right? You developing that gifting, and it sends you out, and then deploy, right? And then it sends you out to mission fields, sends you out to schools, sends you out to all these different things where you can use your gifts for the kingdom of God. and I love that so much. So I did fine arts. I actually entered in one of the photos from the suicide awareness photo shoot,
You did.
and I thought it was so cool. I thought people were gonna love this, and at the time I was thinking more of myself,
Okay.
like how like this is. Look at me, look what I did, look what I get to showcase. Like I'm sure
Right.
I get using a sad situation for that kind of purpose was it was a learning experience for me, and I actually did end up winning. I didn't
Okay.
win. I was bitter when I didn't win, so I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like
I can't believe
I
it.
can't believe I didn't win, but I think God reminded me that day. Actually, when the fine art festival's over, they display all the work on the table,
Right.
and people get to come and look, and check out all the submissions
I
and stuff
love
like
that.
that. And there's a gentleman in he was looking at my photo, and I saw he was just there for a while. I'm like, he's probably like judging it, or I don't know. So I don't know. I just didn't think too much of it.
Yeah.
And then somebody introduced me to him, and I was talking, and then I ended up finding out that he was a suicide survivor, and that he was
Wow.
doing so much cool things in his town, battling suicide and with
Right.
students, and not just students but young adults or couples or
Helping people.
helping
Yeah.
people. And he was just blown away that that somebody was did a photo shoot like that.
Sure.
And we talked, and he just encouraged me. It's like it's not about the awards. It's not about winning at all.
Right.
And I think after I heard that, I think it was just a validation that
Yes. Confirmation
Yep.
for sure. Validation, confirmation
Yep.
of what you're doing.
yeah, and that I don't need awards, because it's not about that. It's about what I can do for people and for God, and because that's the bigger picture. And
Absolutely.
I learned a lot that day, and learned that like just trust God, trust what God's put in your heart, and if it's a talent, pursue that. If God's giving you a desire to like sing or photos or all that kind of thing, just pursue it and watch what God's gonna do. And so that was a life-changing moment for me.
Yes.
Realization that I don't need awards. I just need to know that I made God happy.
Yeah.
Or that
And you're touching people.
yes, and touching
Their
people.
lives.
Yep.
And I think that's really important because here you are, you're 20 years old,
Yeah.
and you're helping parents who are watching this right now, grandparents, parents, to really encourage developing those gifts
Yeah.
in your children. It could be sports, it could be whatever it is, but often when it's something personal, not necessarily team related, but it's personal. It's their
Yeah.
voice through song or through writing or speaking or photography. It's just such a great way to express themselves.
Yeah.
And do you feel like, is that your happy place?
Oh yeah. I think I actually work in the church. I learned that photography is a hobby, and it's a gift. It's
Okay.
God's given it to me, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing photography. And I am happy when I do that, but I really do find joy in ministry and just serving people. And I think God's like kind of shown me that like there's more to the gifts I've given you. It's not just to take pictures of a moment or capture these amazing moments. Yeah, I'll continue to do that. That's what He wants me
Right.
to do. But I think the gifts that He's given me apply to ministry, apply to like serving, apply to just being, a Christian, just being me.
Setting an example.
Exactly. And
I'm thinking, of maybe children who are sports related. They're,
Yeah.
That's their thing is sports. And how do you serve God that way as a young teenager? Well, you are there to encourage your teammates.
yeah,
I mean, you're
You're
there
right.
to set a good example.
yeah,
God
right.
called us to a higher standard.
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do find joy in photography. I find joy being at church, working for the church.
Yeah.
And I don't think those necessarily give me the joy, but it's God like showing me new things that gives me the joy.
So what is next for you?
Well, I don't know.
Do you have any big dreams, aspirations?
No, I mean, I'm going to college.
Yep.
I'm pursuing.
Great.
I'm gonna be a pastor, licensed pastor soon, so that'll
That
be
is
fun.
exciting.
I found passion for youth ministry, so
Yes.
I'm always gonna love photography and social media. I'll still continue to do that. Like I said
Sure.
earlier, I do want to get into more content creating, YouTube, and
Yes.
all that fun stuff. But who knows? Who knows where that'll take me? But right now, Desert Springs Church is
Yeah.
where I'm called, and still gonna be behind the camera. So
Yep. There you
wherever that
go.
goes,
And we're going to always find Adrian behind a camera.
Yep.
And then soon he'll be preaching.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll see.
Preaching and teaching.
Preaching and teaching.
Well, here is a verse, and it's John 14:27. I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart, so don't be troubled or afraid. And I feel like that's good for you because you really did not allow the troubled times of those tragedies to just take you down. But you did something good out of it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing at your age to have recognized that. So keep pouring out into kids. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll do.
And if you will, read our big idea.
Compliment a store employee with "You're doing a great job," which encouragement.
There we go.
I think encouragement is what we all need.
Absolutely. I think I got that idea because I was at a store and this sales lady was really not happy at all. And she was frustrated because people were coming around her and talking to her, and you could tell she was really annoyed. And as I was leaving, I said, "You are doing a great job. I just want you to know you're doing a fabulous job." And she just smiled and said, "Thank you." And it's just like you said, we just need to just plant seeds of encouragement to people.
You don't know what happened in her home or what she's going through, but I think that one comment you made is going to go a long way. So
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well, let's pray.
Yeah.
All right. Dear God, thank you so much for this time that we could have Adrian here and talk about his experiences and the tragedies he's faced. And I pray that that our friends watching have seen the hope that follows these tragedies and see that we can discover our gifts and talents and use those for your glory, God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, this was fun having you here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget hopefollows.com. Get more information and keep spreading that joy.
Yep.
Bye.